Today we are going to discuss the topic emotional intelligence. Let me begin with asking few questions to you people. We know many successful people who are intellectually very sound, they are very intelligent guy and all, they are very successful in their life, and obviously success do come with intelligence only. Still they took some steps which no one understands as to why they went to this step. For example, take the case of Sushant Singh Rajput, SSR. He is a guy who got All India rank 7 in the engineering entrance. He is a guy who became very successful in a very less amount of time in Bollywood and movie industry, which is so difficult field, and without any father there, without any support over there. He began from the scratch. Then we can take the case of Vijay Siddhartha. Vijay Siddharth. This guy is the founder of CCD, Cafe Coffee Day. He has the chain of restaurants all over the country. He is so very successful an entrepreneur. Still, few IT, income tax raid and enforcement direct raid happens for the unaccounted money, revenue misappropriations, or some maybe money laundering allegations. Those allegations come, the guy goes into the depression and then he takes his own life, he does the suicide. Elsewhere we can take the case of Hitler. Hitler is a guy full of energy and intelligence, but he is so brutal guy that humanity will never want another Hitler to be born. Take another case of Mahatma Gandhi. He is also an intelligent guy, because without intelligence what he achieved in his life is unimaginable, and he is also considered to be one of the most influential figure of 20th century and one of the most intellectual person from India. But he is guy known for his soft and humanistic approach. So what is that factor which is making difference between this Hitler and this Gandhi? Both are intelligent, energy, they want to do something for the people, but still what they did finally is entirely different from each other. Why these successful people who are leading by example, they are the role models, still they are ending their own life? What is that factor? We have to ponder over it. So all these answers you will get after studying this chapter, emotional intelligence. So let me discuss something about emotional intelligence. You see, this phrase consists of two words, emotional and intelligence. Intelligence is derived from the root word intelligent. It's kind of, emotional intelligent are similar kind of things. So what is emotional, what is intelligent, how they are related and how they are unrelated? You might have seen many times people say about other person that he or she is very emotional or less emotional, he or she is very intelligent or less intelligent. We also say, especially in the Bollywood movies, girls would be saying this, oh, you are an emotional fool. Many boys allege that the girl has made them emotional fool. All these variants consisting of emotional and intelligence word you have heard, but I guess for many of you, emotional intelligence would be a new word. So what is that in this? So let us discuss. This whole phrase consists of two words, emotional and intelligence. Let us go back to the history. Aristotle, around 2 centuries back, he told that human mind has two segments, has two faculties. So those two faculties are emotion and intelligence. Now let us discuss what is emotion. Emotion is emotion is the feeling, emotion is the affective component of our mind which gives us energy and drive or opinion about something. So it is emotion, it is without any reason. Then what is intelligence? Intelligence is the rationale, the logic, the reason behind something which gives us the information about something. So emotion and intelligence are two entirely different things as it is looking as of now. But as we know, we had studied in the attitude chapter. Here on we will be referring emotional intelligence as EI. In our attitude chapter, we had studied that our attitude consists of three components: A, B and C component. A stands for affective, C stands for cognitive. Affective component is our feelings, our emotions. So this is the emotional component of our brain, and this is the rational or reason or intelligent component of our brain. These two, affective means emotional component and intelligence component, these two guide our B. B stands for behavioral component. Means you have to think this way that our emotions plus our cognition. Our cognition means our intelligence. These two together affect our brain, which in turn will affect our decision, our thought, and the way we look at the world. So emotion and intelligence, both the component are affecting the brain, and both of these together by way of brain are affecting our decision and thought. So any decision, many a times we say person is emotional, many a time we say person is intelligent. So these two components will be in the constant fight, a struggle with each other to dominate our decision. In general, what happens that both the component works, but when we are in the excited state, or when we are in a troubled state, or when we are stressed, or when we have some issues or something which is worrying us, then our emotion component takes over the intelligence component. Emotion component is what? Emotion component is our heart. दिल से सोचता है वो आदमी. Intelligence component is our mind. So here comes that in a difficult situation and all, our heart will dominate our mind. That happened with Sushant Singh Rajput. He was already going through depression and all, so he was disturbed. So he was not able to decide what to do with his life, and in a fit of the moment, in the fit of the anger, he ended his life. So this is how the emotion dominates. What in general happens, let me tell you briefly about emotions. You know, as I told you, emotions are feelings. Emotions are like moods. Emotions are the affective component of the brain. Emotions represent our heart, not the mind. So emotions are basically of two types: positive emotions and negative emotions. So what are the positive emotions? Positive emotions, see, we are not going into the definition of emotions, positive emotions exactly, because these are just the running reference material. So I am just telling you, positive emotions are something which gives us some pleasure, some good feeling, some feel good factors and all. So they could be like joy, they could be like happiness, they could be optimism, they could be love, they could be appreciation. Negative emotions are something which generally distresses us. Negative emotions could be so many, you name it and you can have hatred, jealousy, pessimism, lust. Then we can have negative emotions like anxiety, depression, pessimism. Now try to understand its meaning. When your negative emotions, I told you there is constant struggle between the emotion and intelligence, as which will guide our brain, and through brain which will guide our decision, which will guide our thought, which will guide our state of mind and all. So when these negative emotions overpower the positive emotions, when they are stronger than the positive emotions, and when these negative emotions even take over the intelligence, then your brain start making wrong decisions and you go for the wrong choices. So the same happened with Sushant Singh Rajput. His negative emotions like anxiety, depression and frustration after alleged breakup with his girlfriend, these things overpowered him and he went for the extreme steps. Similarly, for bureaucrats, we see many a times we see that bureaucrats also do a lot of mistakes. Like bureaucrats, for example, I will give you, we saw last year in 2018 we had very famous Sterlite plant protest. A Sterlite plant was based in Thoothukudi in Tamil Nadu, and the plant was very old plant and it was creating pollution. So local people were protesting against the polluting plant. What happened? A plan came that plant will be expanded and the local people came out in the full protest. What happened? The police, who is definitely led by some very intellectual IPS officers, and they are also guided by the leaders or political leaders. So what happened? Police opened fire on the protesters and many protesters died. So just imagine, intelligent IPS officers, intelligent leaders, police wala, they all lost their cool and they killed the people. So even in the bureaucracy this happens. You can take another example. You have studied in your history Jallianwala Bagh. Jallianwala Bagh massacre under the Colonel Dyer. So you understand that guy has cleared ICS examination, such a prestigious examination, Indian Civil Services examination, and still he opened fire on the peaceful protesters who had assembled in the Jallianwala Bagh, and so many people were killed, and it became one of the darkest chapters in the history of British rule in India. So even these intelligent people are losing their cool and they are taking these extreme steps. So we have to understand why all this is happening. This is happening because negative emotions are overtaking the positive emotions, and these negative emotions are generally very strong. You see, once a person is in depression, once a person is in anxiety, once a person is having some hatred, it is very strong and it is very long lasting. Positive emotions many a times are momentary and they are weak as well. You have joy, how long you can be joyful? For some time only. You can have happiness, how long you can be happy? Sometimes only. So negative emotions are very strong. This is the danger with the forces of negativity. Negative emotions are very strong, and once they take over the positive emotions, and once these negative emotions take over the intelligence, then you are prone to making all these wrong decisions and all. So till here somewhat clear. Now let us come to emotional intelligence. What exactly is the emotional intelligence? Emotional intelligence, let me discuss few background information. We are human being. As Aristotle has told that we are a human being and we live in a social setup. We are a social animal. We are a social animal, we cannot live alone. We human beings are a social animal, we cannot live alone. So we come under interaction, we interact with so many people and so many people in so many different dimensions. You connect your family member differently, you connect your mother, brother, sister, father, everyone differently, you connect your friends differently. If you are a office going guy, you connect your boss differently, you connect your peer members differently, you connect to your subordinate differently. So if you are a bureaucrat, you connect to the people differently, you connect to the colleagues differently, you connect to the political bosses differently, you connect to the protesters differently, you connect to the media persons differently. So you know you have been given a specific role vis-a-vis all these people. So in our day-to-day life also, we human beings have so many kind of interactions, and any human interaction is based on exchange of ideas, exchange of thoughts, exchange of worldview, exchange of words. So what happens, I told you, all our actions, decisions and everything are guided by both emotion as well as intelligence. So our decision, our interaction with the people are guided by both, and this is where our emotional intelligence comes into play, because emotional intelligence will determine which will dominate whom, which will be deciding your decisions, and even in emotion which decision will be which emotion will be deciding your decisions, positive emotion or the negative emotion. So this is where the concept of emotional intelligence comes into play. So now let us go to exactly what emotional intelligence is. Earlier it was felt that emotion and intelligence are two opposite things. Emotions and intelligence are two opposite things and they are not connected to each other. It was thought that emotion being the affective component of our attitude and it being the cognitive component, or in other words we can say it being the heart and it being the head. So like head or mind. So it was like no, heart and head cannot come together. If you are emotional people, you cannot be intelligent. If you are intelligent people, you cannot be emotional. So this kind of dichotomy was there. We used to see them as totally compartmentalized with no interaction whatsoever. But over a period of time it was seen that no, this is not correct in general. This many times is wrong. So came the concept of emotional intelligence. So according to Goleman, I tell you, even if you do not remember this scholar name or anyone in ethics paper, it is completely fine. Especially I would suggest you in the case studies, If you are writing something, suppose Gandhiji had told that you have to think about the last person and then take your decision in the Gandhiji's talisman. Then if you are writing the case study answer, you can use the saying of the Gandhiji but make it as your own saying. Don't bring the name Gandhiji here. So in that way, in emotional intelligence also, if something is asked in the exam like what is emotional intelligence, who gave the like what all is the concept of emotional intelligence, then for the time being you can mention Goleman, but otherwise this name is not very important throughout the ethics. So Goleman gave that emotional intelligence has 5 components. He gave a model of 5 component emotional intelligence model. What are those 5 components? Self-awareness, self-regulation, internal motivation, or you can simply call it motivation. And then he gave 2 more components. Those were empathy and social skills. He told that emotional intelligence consists of all these 5 concepts. And now we will discuss one by one what these concepts are. Self-awareness. Self-awareness component of emotional intelligence is like you understand your feelings when you are feeling angry, when you are feeling happy. You know what you are up to, what you are feeling. You know, there are many people who are very weak emotionally. They do not know what is happening in their body and mind. So they cannot read their own emotions, their own mood, their own feelings, their own affective component of the brain. So this is the self-awareness component, that you know yourself. What kind of feelings are going on? You assess yourself properly. So when you are self-aware, you know it's yourself, then only you can go for the second component. Self-regulation. Suppose I assessed myself that I am feeling frustrated today. Then what I will do? I will, if I am emotionally unintelligent person, then if I am frustrated, then I will be carried away by this negative emotion, frustration, and I will be taking my frustration on someone, maybe my girlfriend, maybe my father, maybe my parents, or maybe my brother, or maybe my colleague, or whomsoever comes in front of me in that heat of moment. So my self-regulation will be weak. If I am frustrated and if I am a guy with, say, I am saying you, if I am frustrated and if I am a guy with high emotional intelligence, if I was a guy with low emotional intelligence, I just discussed that you can fall in fight with anyone. You can vent out your anger on anyone, frustration on anyone. If I am emotionally intelligent guy, I have high EIA, then I will understand that okay, today my mood is not good, so I shall better exercise control on myself. I shall better keep restraint on my thoughts, feelings, and even if someone is trying to provoke me, then I should not lose my cool, because I know that today I am disturbed. You can understand how important this is. Suppose you are I will give examples later, let me tell the concepts. Then third component is motivation. Motivation or internal motivation. What this component is? This component is something which is the inner drive. It is from within you. That's why I have mentioned the word internal specifically, otherwise I can simply write motivation as well. This is something which comes from inside, which motivates you. It keeps you optimistic, it keeps you positive, it keeps you going, it gives you perseverance, it gives you motivation, it gives you a drive to work irrespective of what is the situation outside. Suppose for example, you fail in the UPSC prelims. UPSC prelims, you fail. Then what is that? You will be frustrated. You will be frustrated. So if you are a guy with high emotional intelligence, you understand you are frustrated, then what you will try, you will try to burst the first frustration, and or even if you are not able to burst the frustration, you will try to come out of it as soon as possible. But if you are a guy with low self awareness, you will not know that you are frustrated. Then you may shout at anyone, you may go for a drink, you may go for some risky things, risky behavior, you can become violent, you can do self harm by way of suicide, by way of making a low image of yourself. Your self image will become very low, so you can respond in all these negative ways. But if you are a guy with high emotional intelligence, you know that you are frustrated, so your self regulation component will come, and this will save your skin from doing some negative things. So this is where it will help you. Now motivation. You failed prelims examination, people will say a lot of things, thousands of things. They will say that you were useless guy, I knew from the very beginning you cannot clear. But the same person, remember, when you clear, they will say, I knew this guy will bounce back one day. Howsoever failure, irrespective of any challenge, I knew this guy since the beginning, I trusted on him that he will bounce back. So this is what people will do. At one moment they are against you, at the other moment they are very much praising you, because now you have succeeded and you are a powerful guy. So the world loves power, the world worships power, the world worships success. So if you fail prelims, then it is the motivation component which will keep you going for the further attempts. And it will tell you that your future attempts are there, so you please do not waste time in crying over all these failures. So it also motivates your self-regulation component, it strengthens your self-regulation component. Then this is the one thing. Next we discuss these two components. What is empathy? Empathy, I tell you in very much detail, I will be telling you what empathy is, because this is something which is missing very much in the present world. Empathy is something you might have known three words: sympathy, empathy, and the third word is compassion. I tell you, sympathy is for a moment feeling bad about someone's situation. That's it. Nothing else you are doing. It is momentary and it is just kind of a spontaneous reaction. What is empathy? Empathy is one step ahead of sympathy. Here you are feeling about the person, but not momentarily, maybe even for a long time. And you are feeling person not from your perspective only. You are feeling the person from his perspective. So you are putting yourself in his shoes, and you are thinking, you are looking at the world the way he will be looking. Then what is compassion? Compassion is even one step ahead of empathy. What is compassion? Compassion is you thought bad about the person, you thought and imagined, imaginatively you put yourself in the shoes of the other guy, and you imagined how much pain, suffering or joy or whatever that guy or girl might be going. Then compassion adds one more step. Compassion is like empathy plus desire for action. So you also feel that, oh, that guy is so much frustrated, I must do something, and then you do something. So when this action component comes, here you are limited only till the thought component. Here also you are limited till the thought component only, but this thought is from your perspective and this thought is from the perspective of the subject, the sufferer, the person. For example, I tell you, suppose you are passing by a road and you saw a beggar. You saw he is very poor, he is destitute, he is running short on everything, he doesn't have anything to eat, he is crying, means any bad situation you can imagine, he doesn't have clothes on his body, nothing. Then what happens? Suppose you are going for office at 10 a.m. it is. Then you simply move past. Okay, beggars are what here, I do feel bad about them, but what can we do? There are so many beggars, how can I do about them? My office is more important. But at least you felt something bad about them. There will be so many people, okay, beggar, leave them, I hate them. So at least you are not that bad, you are feeling something bad, that okay, this poor guy, he is suffering, blah blah blah. If you, this was empathy. You reached the office, you forgot everything. What is empathy? You saw the beggar, you felt somewhat bad, then you are thinking a lot. Maybe seeing a bad scene, you may even be disturbed in your office, you may not be able to focus on the work if you saw someone suffering and all. For example, you take the case of coronavirus right now. Around us, people are dying, people are suffering, people are deprived of job, people are deprived of basic amenities. For the basic things like oxygen and hospital beds, people are dying. In the rural areas, people are dying only for the lack of few paracetamols, few ivermectin and few other basic medicines. So this may be making you feel so bad. So this is your empathy component. And you are feeling their pain from their perspective, that if I was there, how much suffering they will have. Someone near and dear one, someone losing their near and dear one, that too for the lack of those basic amenities, make us kind of not being a deserving human being to be called. We should not call ourselves humans. So this is kind of empathy. You are thinking bad, you are thinking from their perspective. But then there are many people who will take action, like for this beggar, or for the case of COVID patient. We are seeing many NGOs, many civil societies, many individuals, many philanthropists, many corporates. They are coming forward, they are giving money, they are giving material, they are giving technical advice. Whatever someone can do in their capacity, they are doing it. Then that feeling with action is the compassion. So now we will be discussing this component, empathy in the emotional intelligence. Means empathy in the emotional intelligence means you are thinking something about the perspective of others. Suppose you are an officer. In many case studies you will be given the condition that an old destitute woman comes. She doesn't have food, she doesn't have shelter, what will you do? So if I am an officer with empathy, I will get her all the welfare benefits. I will get her PDS card, I will get her housemaid, blah blah blah, whatever is possible at my end, I will think like doing. That action will come, that will be compassion. But you try to understand the base of compassion, from where the compassion took birth, is empathy. If I did not feel bad about her, this old destitute lady, then I will not be taking any action. This is why, and why empathy is important for bureaucrats, because bureaucrats has all the power and resources to take action, to act for the poor, to act for the weak, to take action, to help them out. Like I feel very bad about so many people, but I don't have that resources, I don't have that action element is missing in me for the lack of resources or something. So I cannot do it, but a bureaucrat can do it. So for bureaucrat, empathy is very important. If empathy is not there, he will not feel any compassion. If empathy is there, he will feel the compassion and then he will come for the help. So it is so very important for bureaucrats or any manager also, office manager. You understand the pain and suffering and the problem of the subordinates, you work with them and then your team works better. So this is what empathy is. Then last is the social skills. Social skills is the way you relate with the people, the way you communicate with the people, the depth of communication, the respect you give to the people, the bond which you make, the maintenance of the relationship. Making friends is so very easy, but retaining the friends for a long period of time, respecting each other's privacy, helping each other in their needs, is what is called social skills. You talk politely. For example, in the citizen charter, we also know that in citizen charter it is told that the government staff government officers has to behave politely and with courtesy to the people who visit the office. So this is all called social skills. How you mingle with the people, you are an introvert or you are an extrovert, or how open and how transparent you are at making relations, making bonds with the people, how deep and strong that bond is, how much you respect the people rather than your own interest and all. So this is all called social skills. So now you try to understand one thing. With whatever we discussed so far, you can understand that first three components, they are intrapersonal components, and these two are interpersonal component. What I mean by intrapersonal, what I mean by interpersonal, all these three components come into play only with regard to me. I understand my emotions, I regulate my emotions, I keep myself motivated. But these two skills come into play when I relate with other people. When it is not I, it is us, it is we. So this is the interpersonal relationship, how you feel about other people and how you make bonds with other people. So this is the interpersonal component and this is the intrapersonal person component. So with this much understanding on emotional intelligence, we can understand one thing, that emotional intelligence is not telling you to not be emotional or to not be intelligent. It is not the victory of heart over the head. It is not the victory of emotions over the logic, but it is the combination. It is the unique mix of the emotion and intelligence, of the heart and of the head, of the brain, of the feelings. So both has to work in the right amount for the emotional intelligence. Clear? So this is the concept of emotional intelligence. Now let us discuss why bureaucrats needs emotional intelligence. This is very important. Why bureaucrats needs emotional intelligence? First thing, to surrounding around us is now such that emotional intelligence is very important. There is poverty all around. India is full of poor people. Not only India, world over also inequality is increasing. So unless you understand the pain of other people, you cannot be a good administrator. Second thing, there are increasing use of information technology. So the government is now being watched by people 24/7. So it is like we have, even if we are actually not, the government should be seen as being in control of situation. Like see this COVID pandemic. In this COVID pandemic, what is happening? Government did something or did not do something. We people are regularly updated by way of social media, by way of YouTube, by way of news, by way of all the social media things we have. So government is looking completely out of control with the situation. Compare it with the previous year when the first lockdown was imposed on March 22-23rd, first lockdown. That time the situation is like police is beating, police is not allowing people to go out. So government was seen as being in control of the situation, but now it is not the case. Government is seen that it has not been able to handle the situation. Third thing, there is increased awareness among people. People know their rights, people know their duties, people know what is expected out of a bureaucrat, so they are more assertive about it, and bureaucrats also has to respond it. Next, 73rd and 74th Amendment Act, Constitutional Amendment Act. What this 73rd and 74th Amendment Act has done, they have decentralized the power. So a new class of participatory development oriented people and a new class of people's leader have emerged who are now put above the bureaucrats. So bureaucrats may earlier do not respect the wish and opinion of the people and their representative at the grassroots level, but now they cannot do this. So this is also a big factor. Then another thing, the demand side of governance has increased. The demand side of governance has increased. Earlier, government at its own end was bringing the reforms, but now people are saying that you give us reform, you rule us better. Then there is also demand for transparency. Then also there is demand for accountability. You know, after the RTI, after the Citizen Charter, after the Right to Service Act and all, now people are very much aware what my rights are, what the transparency mean, and the government servants are accountable. They cannot simply fool us, they cannot take us for granted. So all these things have made that the bureaucrats should understand the feelings of the people, and rather in a country like us, for the sake of democracy, for the sake of sustainable development, for the sake of inclusive development, these things should be a welcome move by the government. So you know, there are many success stories where the police has treated the protesters very well, because they know that people are protesting out of frustration, and protesting is a fundamental right given by our constitution in our democratic constitutional setup. So it is right, we bureaucrats are not giving a favor to the people who are demanding for their rights, and they are coming to protest. This is their very basic right. And another thing, if you do not respect the protesters, then the violent thing is coming. We did not respect the feelings of the poor, then Naxal and all this left-wing extremism, separatism are there everywhere. So this is one reason. Another reason is the government has gone for e-governance and all. So now information is accessible to every people. Take for example the case of Notebandi. When the Notebandi happened, every person in India who is possessing a smartphone and internet connection, they knew about the nitty-gritties of Notebandi and the economy, which was not even imaginable few years ago, just 1 or 2 decades ago. So this is the power of all this technology and all. Then we are also going for globalization. So all these factors are making bureaucrat to think about being emotionally intelligent and think about the people, not go only by the wishes of their power and all. Another thing is also like the model of bureaucracy has changed. Bureaucracy is no more the typical Weberian model of hierarchy, rule-based, dehumanizing, dehumanized and all. Nowadays the work is mostly about teamwork. So it's not the individual boss, it is the team as a whole who has to take decision. For example, with 73rd, 74th Amendment Act, it is the people who has to be taken together in a participatory development manner, which is more like bottom up rather than the earlier top down model. So these are the changes in the situation around. Then so these are all the factors which have necessitated the need of emotional intelligence in the bureaucracy. Now we will be discussing the benefits of emotional intelligence. See, emotion, first let me discuss the role of emotion. Emotion is very important. Emotion affect our thought. Why I am discussing emotion? Because if emotionally we are intelligent, we can improve in all these dimensions. How emotion guides our thoughts? For example, suppose you pass UPSC, you clear UPSC, then your emotions will be different. You will be thinking high of yourself. You will be thinking that yes, you deserved. You will be thinking that your hard work paid you off. Similarly, if you fail the exam, you will be thinking that you are worthless, you do not deserve anything, blah blah blah, all those negative things will come. So you know, emotion affects your thoughts like anything. Then emotion affects your action. You will be guided by your thoughts only. Suppose you fail the exam, you got a negative emotions of low self-esteem. That will be making you to go into depression, go into anxiety, go for the self-harm. That is, they are guiding your action. If you clear the UPSC, then you will have all the positive feelings about yourself. So what will be the positive actions? You will be going for the public speaking, you will become confident, you will become very positive in your outlook, you will become very active, you will feel very energetic, you will deal people confidently, you will go and share your tricks with conviction, how what worked for you in exam, what did not work for you. Then emotions also guide our memory and all, because it is said that if you are emotionally disturbed, if you are not focused, they guide our memory, focus and all. If you are not emotionally sound, or if you are in a disturbed emotional state, you cannot do constructive work, you cannot think constructively. So just remember, after one or two failure at UPSC, first attempt we come like in the first attempt only we want IAS, nothing less than that. After 1-2 failure we compromise with our dreams. Okay yaar, somehow I should get into service. Now any service will be fine. After 2, 3, 4 failures and all, you start questioning yourself that even if I deserve to be in the list, do I have the potential, or am I just dreaming? So what happens, this all thing will be reducing your focus, and you cannot focus on your studies, you will be distracted because constructive work will not happen. Then emotion disturbs, guides our interpersonal relationship. See, if you are successful, if you get success and if you get failure, what you feel, what emotions will tell you? If you get failure, you feel like, please leave me alone, please do not disturb me, please give me my private space. All this is what we say. Means failure will negatively affect your interpersonal relationships. You try avoiding people, you try limiting yourself to yourself. But when the success comes, then we have big stories to say, we have big championship to share about them, we have big words for ourselves. So our emotions will be entirely different. We will love being among the people because we are respected, we are valued, we are even heard by the people. If you get a failure, you will be neglected, you will be sidelined, you will not be heard, you will not be thought as a trustworthy or even a worthy person. So this interpersonal relationship and everything is affected by emotion. Then emotion also affects our decision making. This is like affecting our action only. We take bad decision when we are in a disturbed emotional state. For example, if you are angry, you can fight a person whom you will never fight when you are emotionally stable. So they affect your decision making also. You took the decision of fighting which was not required at all. So emotion affects us in a very big manner. So let us discuss the benefits of emotional intelligence. How emotional intelligence benefits us. Emotional intelligence tells us to take the right action. Emotional intelligence tells us to go for the right thought. As I told you, if some negative thought will come to your mind, your self-regulation, one of the 5 elements of the emotional intelligence, your self-regulation component will say, no, don't lose here. You have to control your negative emotions. That comes into play. Emotional intelligence improves your interpersonal relationship. Like suppose you are a person who is always joyful, always happy, always cheerful, always giving hope for other, always appreciating other, always appreciating those who are feeling low, you are giving them confidence, optimism, you will be liked by everyone. But suppose you are a person who is always telling your sad stories to people, you are always frustrated, you are always negative, you are always pessimistic, then people will simply avoid you. So these are all the benefits of emotional intelligence. Now let us see how emotional intelligence can benefit at the workplace. They can help you in the recruitment. You can recruit the right person. They can help you in creating good work culture in the office. When everyone is happy, you interact rightly with the person. If the person is good at interacting with the people, if the person is creating a positive mood in the environment, then there will be a good work culture in the office. Then you can be a good team player. Nowadays the workplace is a teamwork, not an individual work, and also most of the members are knowledge workers. So these knowledge workers cannot be handled the way we handle the illiterate manual laborers and all. They need respect, they need recognition, they need dignity and everything. So this becomes all the more important for the team players. Then many studies says that in the success, emotion contributes 80%, emotional intelligence or EQ, emotional quotient, and only up to 20% is the role of intelligent quotient. Now let me discuss this point somewhat more. Narendra Modi ji, he is not very educated guy, but still he is very successful. He became the prime minister because his emotional intelligence element is very high, his EQ is very high. He know how to relate with the people, he understand the nerves of the people, he understand the thinking of the people. So he will be, the empathy element is very high, he will be thinking the way people are thinking, and he will speak what the people are likely to hear from him. So with all this emotional quotient, he is very successful guy. There are many people who are very high on IQ, intelligence quotient, but they do not talk properly to people, they do not behave properly to people. So they are those who generally do not succeed in the workplace. Clear? So remaining things we will discuss later. Thank you.